they get to open a little flap in the back of their car and it makes their car go faster. That's just the rules. Such a cliche. Distasteful. Didn't like it. I'm gonna say like 3 seconds or above. Mick Schumacher got done dirty in that episode. I watch it for the plot, I watch it for the drama. When the car goes faster, that is good. What was my other thought? I thought I would make a video about things that I didn't understand about F1 because I thought that could be fun or maybe helpful. So just to jump straight into it, I did not understand what DRS was. Obviously, well maybe not obviously, but it's drag reduction system and it makes the car go faster. It helps with overtakes. There are DRS points on the track. Quick side note, I think it's being replaced by the MOM system next year or next season or something. I don't know. I haven't researched that. But for now it's DRS. Essentially, they get to open a little flap in the back of their car and it makes their car go faster. That helps them overtake. There are DRS zones and all these rules around DRS. So certain points in each track that you can use it, and it only turns on after a certain amount of laps, isn't used in the wet. You can only use DRS if you are under a second behind the car in front. So if you're within a second following them, you can open your DRS and use it. I thought that you had to be within 1 second of the car in front for it to physically, mechanically work. I thought it didn't work. Like I thought how close you were to the car in front is what made it faster. But that's actually not true at all. And the only reason you have to be within a second is because the purpose of it's to get a bit of an advantage for the car behind when overtaking so that they can actually accomplish more overtakes. And it is a bit more interesting and fun to watch the racing because the cars aren't just stuck behind each other trying to get past. You don't actually need to be 1 second behind or less than 1 second behind for DRS to work. That's just the rules. Secondly, I used to get very confused about why they would talk about how clean air is king, but also they could get a slipstream behind other cars and it could help them go faster if they have a slipstream. Essentially, I asked Jackson, as I do for everything, and he said slipstreams, like if you're following a car close enough behind and you're in their slipstream, you're directly behind them and that makes you go faster because there's less wind resistance or something. Like you follow in it and they make the path for you, but you don't want to be in the dirty air. That's the thing, like, dirty air makes you slow or degrades your tires or something. I don't even know, but dirty air is not good. Clean air is king. So I didn't understand why, if clean air is king and dirty air is bad, how could you get a slipstream and be faster behind the cars? But essentially, if you're following them in a direct line behind, you're not getting the dirty air of the car, you're getting the slipstream. But as soon as you get a corner where you're not directly behind them, then you're in dirty air. So slipstreams work for the straights, and dirty air, you don't want to be too close to the car in front if you're not directly behind them, which is essentially most of the track because you're in corners. And if you're turning the corner a second after them, then obviously you're not directly behind them because it just doesn't make sense physically. I don't know if that made sense, but that is something else I didn't understand. Also, this isn't something that I didn't understand, but I think it's helpful to talk about. Pit stops are really key because if you have a slow pit stop, it can make you come out behind someone and that's slow, or you can come out in traffic, or you can come out and be under pressure. Basically, if you have a slow pit stop, right, if your pit stop is I'm going to say like 3 seconds or above. If someone has a 2.2 second pit stop, they have got 0.8 second advantage on you. That's a lot. Sometimes you come into the pits and if they can even just get out in front of you in the pits, it's crazy. So pit stops are very important. This is a side note, but it's something I've never talked about and I really want to talk about it. It's kind of a spoiler for the F1 movie, so if you haven't watched it, it's not really a spoiler, but it's a thought on the F1 movie. But if you don't want to, just skip to the next bit. But the thing that bothered me the most about the F1 movie is the women in the movie, and not because of the women themselves, but because of how they were written in and put in the movie. I've only seen it once, so I might have forgotten some things, but from what I remember, there was only one female pit crew woman, and it was like, oh, you're so lucky to be here and whatever. And then she kept making mistakes. One thing I remember is that she left the wheel gun to change the wheels under the car and it got run over and it was like a big mistake. And they all just looked at her and were like, ugh. And I don't understand why, if you're trying to make F1 more accessible for women and give women more opportunities in F1, particularly in not just the driver's seats, but in the whole teams in total, why would you literally write into the script that the one female representing person in the pit be the person that's incompetent? I feel like it did such a disservice to women trying to work their way into the sport, and it really, really bothered me. And I can't believe someone didn't pick that up and say, hey, why don't we have one of the men? If that's pivotal, someone leaving a wheel gun, why was it the woman? But why? You're just perpetuating this stereotype that women are incompetent and can't do anything. And it really, really, really bothered me. And then also the race engineer person, this is a spoiler, the team engineer boss person, whatever the main female character was, falling in love with the driver. Such a cliche. Distasteful. Didn't like it. Didn't add anything to the plot. I mean, there was a lot wrong with that movie, but I didn't see anyone talk about that, and that bothered me so much. Okay, back to things about F1 that are helpful to know that I didn't remember or understand. So I haven't watched Drive to Survive. I've watched a little bit, a few episodes of one of the seasons. I don't remember. It was actually when, what's his name? The episode that featured Mick Schumacher on the whatever, I don't know what season it was. But anyway, it was a whole episode about how he is the son of a Formula One great and he keeps getting lapped in races and how shameful that is. And I was watching that horrified. I mean, this is a few years ago. I know more about F1 now. But when I was watching it, I was horrified because I was like, how could this great driver be lapped so much? That's so embarrassing. He's getting lapped every single race, or he's getting lapped, blah, blah. And then Jackson was like, this is annoying. This is stupid. This is a misrepresentation of the sport. And I was like, why? What do you mean a misrepresentation of the sport? He's getting lapped. That's outrageous. And then Jackson said, no, actually, drivers get lapped all the time. And they do. If you pay attention, which clearly I hadn't, they get lapped all the time. Drivers be getting lapped almost every race. It's normal. It is not crazy. It is just what happens. That is not mean a driver is bad. So essentially, drivers getting lapped is very normal. And when drivers are getting lapped, they get a flag waved at them to move over. But it's kind of hard if they're in their own battles and they're trying to overtake. And anyway, it's a whole thing. But drivers getting lapped is completely normal. And Mick Schumacher got done dirty in that episode. And that was the episode that we stopped watching because it was just so inaccurate. I mean, if you fell in love with Formula One because of Drive to Survive, that's fine. We love having more people in the sport. But some of it is really, really, really not true. And that is why people like Max Verstappen just said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. Is there anything else that I don't understand that bothers me? Oh, British bias is a thing. I didn't know what that was until Jackson told me. There's a theme here. Jackson pretty much tells me everything and then I just yap about it to myself and to you. He tells me everything because he knows so much more than me. And if you want to get into F1, that is kind of like one of my number one tips. Find someone who knows a lot so they can just tell you what's happening and you can just learn from them, because it is overwhelming trying to figure it all out on the internet, which is kind of why I started making F1 videos, because everything is so professional and everyone knows so much and everything is so high level, it's kind of hard to access, or it was for me. And that's why I like asking Jackson, because he can break things down and explain them in a way I understand. And that is what I hope to do here. I hope to chat about it as a non-expert, and then we can all just have fun and chat, because as I said in my last video, I am watching F1 for the plot. That I watch it for the plot. And I watch it for the drama. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to know everything. I mean, I learn a little bit every time, but I don't need to put the pressure on myself to know absolutely everything that's going on. Another thing, they underfill the cars with fuel in case there's a safety car. If the car has less fuel, it goes faster. And when the car goes faster, that is good. And generally there's like a safety car or something in the race where they can follow behind the safety car and they use less fuel because they're driving less fast. But this can also cause issues, like Lando in the last race, because he was underfueled, as they all were. He must have pushed too much or something, and he was running low on fuel and had to really, really, really drop back in the last few laps of the race so that he had enough, because they do a fuel sample at the end. So one, you don't want to run out of fuel because then like you need fuel, obviously. But two, they need to take a fuel sample, and if they can't, you get disqualified. So interesting. Another thing, because of the fuel thing, the cars need to be a certain weight at the end to finish and not be disqualified. And at the end of the race, they will drive over the not the racing line and try to pick up as much rubber and stick it to their tires to make their car heavier, because it is that close in weight. And so the tires look crazy at the end because they have all this rubber sticking to them, which they absolutely want to avoid in the actual race. Going off the racing line and picking up rubber in the race can be detrimental and slow you down. on. There was another thing I thought. I had an idea. What was my other thought? Oh, because the weight of the car plays such a big difference in the engineering of how fast it can go and all that kind of stuff. The drivers, particularly the tall ones, they have to maintain a very strict weight, because even if they're a couple kilos, half a kilo heavier, it could totally throw off the whole balance of the car and make them slower and really affect their car and their racing. And that's crazy, because basically they are watching their weight like UFC fighters, trying to make sure that they are the right weight exactly. And if they are taller, that means they're heavier naturally and they have to weigh less and be more strict with how much they can sort of have body fat on them and muscle, because they're taller and they need to be the right weight. So that is crazy. And a lot of F1 drivers are pretty short. So that's another thing that's crazy. I mean, is it crazy? There's a picture of Yuki Tsunoda next to a basketball player. Yuki is little. Another thing that you might not have known, but you probably do, but you might not have, you need to run 2 different tire compounds in a race. That's just a rule. So even if the race strategy like in Vegas would suit hard, you have to have a hard and a medium, or a hard and a soft, or something like that. I think you don't have to run 2 tire compounds if it's too wet and then they're just on wets, but generally 2 compounds. So not only do you have to pit, but you have to run at least 2 different tires. So that makes strategies more interesting. I love listening to Bernie talk about strategies because she is always spot on, and we love women in the sport because they know what they're talking about and they know what they're doing. I'm going to circle back to it. It bothered me so much about the F1 movie, how they made the women, that one girl in the pit crew, be incompetent. Why? That was so unnecessary, and I think so detrimental, because women already get so much crap and so much negativity in the sport. Why perpetuate that? Anyway, I think I'm going to stop yapping there. I don't know if this will be a good video to put up, but we'll see. They're just little stuff that you don't even think about, maybe, or I didn't, and I just picked them up along the way, and I want to point them out so that we can all learn together. And if you know some weird facts or things, leave them in the comments so I can learn, because clearly I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to. I think that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I guess I will see you in the next one.